Hey, everybody, welcome to our town board meeting. Today is July 21st. And we're gonna kick this meeting, I'm calling this meeting to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And jumping right into some resolutions we've got quite a number of them today. The first resolution is to accept minutes for meetings held on June 2nd, 2026 and June 9th, 2026. Second, all in favor? Aye. Resolution accepting clerk's report. Be it resolved to accept the town clerk's report. That was a very long one.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Resolution authorizing payment of vouchers. Be it resolved to authorize payment of vouchers in the amount of $363,616.37. All in favor?
Aye.
We have two related resolutions coming up, and I'm gonna start with this one, authorizing an application to New York State Climate Smart. And I'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to the second resolution. Whereas the town of Woodstock, New York hereby requests financial assistance from the New York State Climate Smart Communities Grant Program pursuant to Environmental Conservation Law, Article 54, Title 15, and whereas the town of Woodstock certifies that it has identified up to $40,000 of matching funds from the general fund unassigned balance pursuant to the requirements of Environmental Conservation Law, Article 54, Title 15. And now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Woodstock hereby establishes a capital fund project called Flood Analysis Capital .106 and corresponding capital budget line for the Climate Smart Communities Grant Program. And be it further resolved that the sum of up to $40,000 is hereby appropriated in general unassigned fund balance and transferred to such capital project fund to serve as the town's required local matching share for the project, subject to all necessary budgetary and accounting procedures. And be it further resolved that the town of Woodstock hereby authorizes the town supervisor to act on behalf of the town in the submission of an application through the New York State Consolidated Funding Application in Climate Smart Communities Grant Funding, and to execute all documents and agreements necessary and appropriate to carry out the purposes of this.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution authorizing the hiring of temporary staff. Whereas the town of Woodstock requires temporary staff to support town operations. And whereas the individuals listed on attachment A have been recommended for temporary employment in the positions and at the rates of pay set forth therein. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Woodstock hereby authorizes the hiring of temporary staff listed on attachment A for the positions and rates of pay specified herein for the period beginning June 29, 2026 and ending August 14, 2026. And be it further resolved that the town supervisor and appropriate town officials are authorized to take all actions necessary to implement this resolution. And just as an FYI, this is to hire the temporary staff, taking care of the sorry, thank you. Couldn't get that. So thank you. And by the way, everybody, we've got Michelle here, and Michelle's stepping in for Megan tonight. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution establishing the town of Woodstock Garden Committee. So we talked about at the last town board meeting that we do in fact have a garden committee, but we could not locate the resolution officially forming that garden committee. So we're going to create this tonight hopefully. Whereas the town of Woodstock recognizes the importance of maintaining an organized, fair, and well-managed community garden program. And whereas the town board wishes to establish a committee to address matters affecting community gardeners and to provide recommendations concerning the operation and improvement of the community garden. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Woodstock hereby establishes the town of Woodstock Garden Committee consisting of no more than 5 members appointed by the town board. And be it further resolved that the garden committee shall be tasked with developing and recommending policies, procedures, and rules for the orderly operation of the community garden, reviewing and addressing matters affecting gardeners and use of the community garden, promoting clear, respectful, timely, and appropriate communication among gardeners, committee members, town officials, and town staff. Holding meetings at least once each month unless the town board determines otherwise. Preparing minutes of each meeting and submitting those meetings to the town board for public posting. That should actually be for the town clerk. Identifying operational concerns, maintenance needs, improvements, and other matters involving the community garden. And making recommendations to the town board for consideration and approval. Be it further resolved that the garden committee shall serve in an advisory capacity only. And shall not have the authority to bind the town, expend town funds, enter into contracts, direct town employees. Or establish final policies without prior approval of the town board. And be it further resolved that all meetings and activities of the garden committee shall be conducted in accordance with applicable town policies and New York State law.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so earlier we voted on authorizing the supervisor to apply for a New York State Climate Smart Communities Grant Program. And this resolution is related to it. A few weeks ago, we authorized the town to apply for a grant to conduct a flood analysis in Willow. And we have really exciting news. We are actually eligible for a grant to expand that and to expand it to the Lake Hill area. So that's what this resolution is going to do. Whereas the town of Woodstock previously prepared a request for proposals for professional services to conduct a local flood analysis of the Willow area. And whereas the town board has determined that the scope of the request for proposals should be expanded to include the Lake Hill area in addition to the Willow area. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Woodstock hereby authorizes the modification of the request for proposals for local flood analysis to include an analysis of flooding conditions, risks, and potential mitigation measures in both Willow and Lake Hill. And be it further resolved that all references in the request for proposals to the Willow area alone shall be revised as appropriate to reflect the inclusion of both the Willow and Lake Hill areas. And be it further resolved that the town supervisor and appropriate town officials are authorized to revise and issue the modified request for proposals and to take all actions necessary to implement this resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And this next one, I'm going to actually ask our council to speak to. This is a resolution rescinding the March, well, actually, this is not the one, we'll talk about that more in the annual deal. So this is kind of related to.
No, it's the whole thing.
It is, okay, so I do wanna maybe give us a little bit of background, and I can read this first and then put you on the spot, or
I mean, why don't you read it first, because it has a lot of info.
Okay, all right, so I'll read this and before the board votes, Lydia's here, she's our council. And she'll be able to answer any questions and fill in any blanks that we might have. Resolution rescinding the March 11, 2025 secret classifications, accepting EAF Part 1, classifying the Andy Lee Field Recreational Campus Project as a Type 1 action and initiating a review. Whereas on March 11, 2025, the town board declared itself lead agency and classified the Andy Lee Field Recreational Campus Project as an unlisted action under 6 NYCRR Part 617 without a completed full environmental assessment or Part 1. And whereas the project site is publicly owned parkland, Andy Lee Field, Andy Woodstock Memorial Park, and the project as currently proposed includes new construction, site regrading, and parking expansion across a portion of the approximately 16.42 acre park. And whereas 6 NYCRR 617.4 classifies as Type 1 any unlisted action exceeding 25% of any threshold in 617.4 that occurs wholly or partially within or substantially contiguous to publicly owned parkland. And whereas based on the scope of the project as reflected in the master plan, the project may also independently meet or exceed the threshold that 6 NYCRR 617.4 B6I physical alteration of 10 acres. And whereas a full environmental assessment form Part 1 for the project has now been prepared and is before the board. And whereas the town board finds that its March 11th, 2025 classification of the project as unlisted was made without the benefit of a completed EAF Part 1, it should be rescinded and superseded. And whereas the town has engaged EDR and Finney Design Group in connection with the master plan for the project, then the town board wishes to confirm that a qualified environmental consultant is available to assist the town board as seeker lead agency with the coordinated review, EAF parts 2 and 3, and related studies required for a type 1 action. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board's March 11, 2025 classification of the project as an unlisted action is hereby rescinded. And be it further resolved that the town board hereby accepts the full environmental assessment form, part 1 for the project. And be it further resolved that the project is hereby classified as a type 1 action pursuant to 6 NY CRR 617.4 B10 and to the extent applicable 617.4 B6I, and be it further resolved that the town clerk is directed to circulate the accepted EAF Part 1 together with a lead agency coordination request to all potentially involved agencies, including without limitation, the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, New York State Parks, Recreation and Historic Preservation, Ulster County Department of Health, and any state agency from which the town is seeking funding or approval for the project, providing the 30-day calendar response period required by 6 NYCRR 617.6 B3, and be it further resolved that subject to the coordinated review process, the town board expresses its intent to serve as lead agency for seeker review of the project with a determination of significance to follow completion of EAF parts 2 and 3. And be it further resolved that the town supervisor is authorized and directed to determine whether EDR and or Finney Design Group possess sufficient seeker and environmental review qualifications and capacity to assist the town board with seeker compliance for the project. And be it further resolved that in the event neither firm is so qualified or available, the town supervisor is authorized to issue a request for qualifications RFQ from a qualified environmental consultant to assist the town board with seeker compliance for the project consistent with the town's procurement policy. Any questions before we set in this one and move on? I know there was the pressure to put this on the resolution tonight was going to read that we were going to put this up for referendum. And in digging into the details, the idea last year was that the work that was done was sufficient, but given the scope of the project, it's not. So we need to do our due diligence, no different than any other developer that's out there. We have some responsibility to the town to look at the little part that does have flooding, is that in the watershed, how does that affect the character of the neighborhood? So none of that was done. And so that's essentially what this is bringing forward. And we can't do this in conjunction with asking you to vote on something. This is my interpretation, that we don't have the answers to.
So this is a resolution that really only a lawyer can love, and I do apologize for that. But the long and short of this is towns, villages, cities, and forgive me if I just wax eloquent for a minute, but only have the authority to do what the state legislature has given them the authority to do. We are really creatures of the state. States are creatures of common law, but we are really only allowed to do what the state says we can do. So in that world, the town board is only allowed to put in front of the voters, like part of the main constitutional, New York State constitutional issues is that all municipalities, counties, etc., are representative government. So there's only a few instances where the state allows that representative government's decisions to be overruled by the will of the people through a referendum. So that being said, one of those areas is when the town board passes a bond resolution. And that is the area that we are expecting this to occur in. The town board cannot just put any question in front of it to referendum. That's not allowed by the state, and as you can imagine, it would cause absolute chaos with running government in the state. So we heard what the task force asked for 2 weeks ago. David and I went back and did a bunch of research, and we tried to figure out how to get this project to the point where the task force was asking it, which was to put it in front of the voters. And as part of that, we did a bunch of research into what had already been done. And so in addition to this referendum question, no major project can go forward, especially for bonding, that has not gone through seeker. Seeker is the State Environmental Quality Review Act. It is something that anyone who builds in the state has to go through a seeker process, including a town. And the EAF part one is not enough. You have to actually do what they call a hard look. So the town board has to take a hard look at the project. And answer all of the questions. All of the questions are generally captured in the EAF part two. But that's really just a stand-in for the generalized idea that the town board has to take a hard look. And then after that process is done, then the town board can float a bonding resolution. And then that bonding resolution can be put in front of the voters for referendum. So the idea here is, and we thought that we had sort of solved this secret problem in part through this resolution from 2025. Unfortunately, a town board or any entity can declare itself lead agency only after they've reviewed a completed EAF part one. That did not, and because the part one defines the scope of the project, which lets us know if this is a type one and unlisted, a type two, this is all secret stuff. And so we didn't have an EAF part one until now. And examining the EAF part one, it showed that this is a type one. This is a type one project, not an unlisted project. And also that part one has to be shared with the potential interested agencies so that they actually know what they're commenting on. And so this resolution is designed to, supersede the one from 2025, declare yourselves lead agents, lead agency. You have a completed EAF part one that hoping you all reviewed. And then the town clerk's office, if you choose to pass this resolution, can then share that EAF part one with all potentially interested agencies, including your own planning board, actually. I forgot to put that in there. And so as a result of that lead agency process, we give in state law, we give agencies 30 days to respond. And so that blows us past the deadline for putting this question on the ballot for November, even if the town board had taken the time to do everything that's required for seeker. And so this is just a state law timing question. This does not mean at all that the town board is dragging its feet. This does not mean at all that the town board doesn't think that this is an interesting project that should be examined. This just means that the town board is following state law.
Which is somewhat important, right?
That's as your lawyer, I try. So yes, so that's where we are.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. If you have any questions, I'm happy.
Any council people with questions, or you think we all right, do I have a second? Second. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Right. Actually, I'd like to be able to add a planning board as well, this way when. Okay. All right, here's another interesting one. So this one is a resolution devising the timeline for a town-wide property revaluation. And we have here our we have Karen Schultes here, who's our acting assessor. Thank you very much. And Karen has been doing an amazing job, but when we look for the resolution authorizing this, there is none. So somehow somebody decided last year to start something that the town board never had a chance to vote on. That said, Karen has been doing a fantastic job. And what this is going to do is this is going to push back the timeline so we can think through this with our heads screwed on right and talk to people as we go through this process. So whereas in 2025, the former administration determined that the town of Woodstock should begin a town-wide property revaluation process near the end of that year. And whereas the town assessor, staff of the assessor's office have been working diligently and have performed their responsibilities with professionalism, care, and a strong commitment to accuracy and fairness. And whereas the town supervisor and the assessor's office have reviewed the work required to complete the revaluation, including the preparation and submission of all required New York State forms and documentation, the review and verification of property information, and the need to provide residents with clear and timely information concerning the process. And whereas the town board recognizes that sufficient time is necessary to complete the revaluation carefully, maintain the high quality of the work being performed, and provide meaningful public education and outreach before the revaluation is implemented. And whereas revising the schedule will allow the town to proceed in a thorough, transparent, and orderly manner while ensuring compliance with all applicable requirements. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Woodstock hereby revises the timeline for the townwide property revaluation so that revaluation will be implemented for the 2028 assessment roll, subject to all applicable New York State requirements. And be it further resolved that the assessor's office is authorized and directed to continue the necessary data collection, property review, documentation, quality control, and administrative work required for the revaluation. And be it further resolved that the town supervisor and assessor's office shall develop and implement a public information and outreach process to explain the purpose, procedures, timeline, and potential effects of the revaluation to property owners and residents. And be it further resolved that the town board expresses its deep appreciation to the town assessor and the staff of the assessor's office for the excellent work they have performed and for their continued commitment to a fair, accurate, and professionally administered assessment process.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. And Karen, did you want to say anything you'd like to
No.
help people? I know you've been working very hard on this.
We've done a lot of the inventory part, but then we just found out that there's a huge project of inventory that we were not aware of that the state threw on us like 2 weeks ago. So that's the reason why we're extending it. We don't want to rush and get it done for 2027 and make mistakes and not feel that it's fair to the taxpayers.
Thank you very much, and I know, I just literally the work that's been done there, which is, I think, just kind of given to you very swiftly. Thanks for stepping up, that's really good. Resolution authorizing the town supervisor to engage a staffing company. So the town, this year, we've made a very large effort to reach out to let folks know that there are open positions, and I think we're up to 5 now. Anything from a parking lot attendant to someone in my office as she just became a registered nurse and she'll be leaving Friday. So things like that, and it's just for some reason extremely difficult to find people. I don't know why. So there are towns who very successfully have worked with staffing agencies. And they find the right people, they have the ability to, in some cases, those folks are there for years. And when I spoke with them, they're really happy with the results. So we'd like to give it a try. And that's what this resolution was about. And we'll continue to, by the way, work with civil service. We will continue to post on Facebook. We will continue to have word of mouth. And we also post it on the website. So we're trying every avenue in order to get qualified employees to come to the table. Whereas the town of Woodstock may require staffing assistance to maintain normal town operations and provide personnel for departmental needs. And whereas the town board wishes to authorize the use of a qualified staffing company when needed. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Woodstock hereby authorizes the town supervisor to engage a qualified staffing company to provide staffing for normal town operations, subject to available budget appropriations, applicable procurement requirements, and approval of any agreement as to form by the town attorney. And be it further resolved that the town supervisor is authorized to execute all necessary documents and take all actions required to implement this resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, well, here's another interesting one. So for Chief, how many years has that vehicle been sitting at highway?
Too many.
Too many.
5 out of 5.
5 years, so for about an estimated 5 years, there was an abandoned vehicle that has been sitting at our highway, not the highway department, but they got another piece of property in town, and this vehicle, which is a nice Acura, has been sitting there. And so as soon as I got into office, the chief and myself worked on starting to claim ownership to that. So it was just sitting there, and the chief did a great job with going through DMV, identifying all former owners, reaching out to them, filling out the appropriate paperwork, et cetera, maybe one or two people popped out of the woodwork, nobody wants the vehicle, and it's classified as an abandoned vehicle. And this resolution would help us to get to the final step, where we would look at the vehicle, determine if it's something that we would keep as a town. We're in desperate need for vehicles that are not on their last leg, or we would sell it and put that money into a fund to purchase a new vehicle. Is there anything, Chief, that you want to add before I read this?
Okay, you often covered it, you know, it should have been dealt with a long time ago.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, it's been sitting there for a long time. I'm surprised it looks as nice as it does. So that is what this resolution is. Whereas the 2011 Honda Acura ZDX vehicle identification number 2HNYB1H47VH500675 has remained unclaimed at the town of Woodstock Highway Department property for several years. And whereas the Woodstock Police Department has worked with the town supervisor and the New York State Department of Motor Vehicles to identify and notify all prior owners and any other parties having a recorded interest in the vehicle. And whereas all required notices have been provided, the applicable time to claim the vehicle has expired and the vehicle remains unclaimed. And whereas the town has determined that the vehicle is abandoned and that the town may take possession and ownership of the vehicle. Now therefore be it resolved that the highway department mechanics shall inspect the vehicle and advise the supervisor regarding the mechanical condition, safety, repair needs and suitability for town use. And be it further resolved that following the mechanical inspection, the town supervisor is authorized either to retain and assign the vehicle for official town employee use or to sell the vehicle in accordance with applicable law and town procedures based upon what is determined to be in the best interest of the town. And be it further resolved that the town supervisor is authorized to execute all title applications, bills of sale and other documents necessary to complete the transfer, registration, retention, or sale of the vehicle.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Alright, you're free to do whatever it takes from this point forwards.
Back and
We'll
forth.
get a battery tomorrow. Resolution appointing new member to the zoning board of appeals. Whereas a vacancy exists on the town of Woodstock zoning board of appeals, and whereas the town board has determined that Olivia Twine is qualified to serve as a member of the zoning board of appeals. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Woodstock hereby appoints Olivia Twine to the zoning board of appeals effective immediately for term ending 12/31/29. And be it further resolved that this appointment is subject to all applicable training and other requirements of New York State law and the town of Woodstock. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Very welcome. This resolution, so Woodstock has an amazing, it's a good chance to shout out the Good Neighbor Food Pantry. I believe that the Good Neighbor Food Pantry was on track to serve 1 million meals. That is all water food, right? Where you volunteer there?
Yeah, it's unbelievable on food,
Yeah,
but it's also they serve other food pantries. Peter has really done an amazing job of furthering that network and just good touch the community as humanly possible, so it's amazing for sure.
yeah, so I mean, just really, I mean, I really think of our food pantry as a model for others. So some are struggling and thankfully knock on wood, our shelves are full and like housing person both just said.
Yeah.
You know, we're able to help others, and Peter Humphreys is amazing. Rick Orlando's on the board, he's a fantastic chair of the board, I'm on the board, and I know, you know, our volunteers are amazing. So the church, the first church of Christian, that's the formal name of, yeah, this is the formal name.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's what's on the list, right, that I saw. So right down the road, they have been extremely generous with providing the food pantry with the space. The food pantry does pay rent, but they do want the town to hold this the lease. And that's just been something that was put in place some time ago. We could not find those resolutions either. But we do want to support the food pantry and make sure that this continues for at least the next year. and that's what I'm gonna read now. Whereas the Good Neighbor Food Pantry provides food assistance and other vital support to residents of the town of Woodstock and surrounding community. And whereas the First Church of Christian has presented a lease for premises to be used for the operation of the Good Neighbor Food Pantry. And whereas the proposed lease is for a term of 1 year beginning July 14th, 2026 and ending July 13th, 2027. And whereas the town board wishes to authorize the execution of the lease, subject to appropriate insurance protections for the town. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Woodstock hereby authorizes the town supervisor to execute on behalf of the town a lease with the First Church of Christian for premises to be used by the Good Neighbor Food Pantry for the following term. Beginning July 14th, 2026, ending July 13th, 2027. Be it further resolved that the Good Neighbor Food Pantry shall add the town of Woodstock as an additional insured on its applicable insurance policies. And I want to add that. Okay, that's okay, that reads well. And shall provide the town with satisfactory proof of such coverage before occupying or using the leased premises. And be it further resolved that the lease shall be subject to the approval as performed by the town attorney. And compliance with all applicable legal, insurance, and budgetary requirements. And be it further resolved that the town supervisor is authorized to execute any related documents and take all actions reasonably necessary to implement this resolution. And I just want to add that our attorney already did review the lease. So we went through it, we had discussion about it, I've shared that discussion with each one board member separately. And so that's the resolution. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. And our final resolution is a resolution authorizing a transfer from the general unassigned fund balance for the scoreboard. So for those of you who know where Rick Holt's the baseball field is, that's town owned property. That's primarily been maintained by citizens who have taken money out of their own pockets to pay for everything, much to my surprise. And the scoreboard has been broken for at least 2 years. And so we have a little bit of money sitting in a Rick Folt's capital fund. And this resolution will transfer a little bit more. This will not cover the scoreboard in full. Vince from the hardware store in town is going to cover the rest of it. I'm gonna have those quotes, and it's not cheap. One other thing that this does is we had a resident years ago who had the first women's softball team of Woodstock, I believe, Norma Brody. And so this, while we're going to update our scoreboard, we don't want to remove her name. We want to keep her name and remember her. I guess she had a very big boisterous personality and a lot of folks remember her and really care for her. Whereas the town of Woodstock wishes to purchase and install a new scoreboard as part of the Rick Folt's improvement project. Whereas the existing scoreboard includes a memorial sign honoring Norma Brody, and the town board wishes to ensure that Norma Brody memorial recognition is retained and incorporated into the new scoreboard. And whereas funds are available in the general fund, unassigned fund balance for this purpose, now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Woodstock hereby authorizes the transfer of $4,905.51 from the general fund unassigned balance to Rick Bowles improvement account capital CP H08297.20 for the purchase and installation of a new scoreboard. And be it further resolved that the new scoreboard shall retain and prominently display the Norma Brody Memorial designation or sign. And be it further resolved that the town supervisor, finance department, and other appropriate town officials are authorized to make the necessary budget entries and take all actions required to implement this resolution.
Second.
All in favor? We have a presentation. So we've got folks here from the Saugerties Animal Shelter who are going to do a presentation for us. And I want to make one correction. The church is the First Church of Christian Science. We'll add time to that in the minutes, Michelle.
Yes, then 3 different spots.
Thank you. while we are waiting to pull that up, we can move to a discussion. So at the last town board meeting, I had asked if there were any council people interested in being a liaison for the sound slash noise ordinance. Anybody think about it? And we can have two liaisons if we want. Any volunteers?
I do it from my hat, I will be using until September, so starting September, if you want me for the happy hearing, I do so.
Okay, then we can.
But I won't arm myself.
Anybody else, I just got a big smile on his face. Everybody's looking at Reggie, right?
Yeah.
They're looking right over you.
So I think that's the general consensus to the board.
That you should-
Yeah, well, no, I'm happy, I'm willing to share with you.
liaison.
If you want it, I will.
No, I said
Like-
clearly, I'm willing to share.
So,
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
boundaries are good.
Yeah,
Alright, so co-liaisons, what I'm hearing and seeing, Laura and Reggie.
Okay.
you have to stop looking at me today, I'm glad.
We were just getting through the eyes.
Yeah, I know, that's clear.
And the second item that's on the agenda, we discussed rather thoroughly, we moved that up, so Lydia had a chance to talk to everybody about that. Alright, are we ready for the presentation?
We are.
Alright, okay, perfect. Just introduce yourself and.
My name is Pia Davis, and this is Morgan Bach. She is manager of the Sagary's Animal Shelter, and she will be happy to answer any questions you might have after my short presentation. I've been full-time with Woodstock resident for nearly 40 years, and I'm here this evening to talk about the shelter and Woodstock's relationship to it. Some Woodstock residents are already familiar with it, many are not. Some of us have used the affordable spay and neuter OHA clinic hosted by the shelter. Some lucky residents have adopted a loving companion there. The town of Woodstock uses the shelter's animal control officer, so we as a town already have a relationship with the shelter. But the current shelter building is sorely inadequate. For one thing, the space is too small to provide any real enrichments for the cats and dogs. The heroic staff and volunteers are doing incredible work keeping the place running as well as it does. They need a new building, they're building a new building right now, and it's important for Woodstock to step up to support a new facility that will serve both our communities. We all know how long it took Woodstock to agree on a new library. It's really hard to do something on this scale, and it takes, and has taken in the case of the shelter, years. This part has been done without our help. A generous arrangement for now, but the new facility will need support, and I'd ask our community to consider what part we can play. Before we talk about the new building, I'd like to begin with what already happens every day at the shelter. Many people think of the shelter simply as a place where homeless animals wait to be adopted. It certainly is that, but it's also much more. Every day, staff and volunteers provide medical care, enrichment, exercise, behavioral support, adoption counseling. Volunteers donate. Sorry, I lost my. Sorry. Screen sharing. Share there, I went back to the there, so maybe that will work. Let's see, I can't see it all the way this, see it? It's not like it's this, it's not that's. I'm completely. Every day, staff and volunteers provide medical care, enrichment, exercise, behavioral support, and adoption counseling. Volunteers donate thousands of hours walking dogs, socializing cats, cleaning, transporting animals, fostering, fundraising, and helping families find the right pet. These numbers represent real lives being changed, not only for the animals, but for the people who become part of their journey. When people think of an animal shelter, they often picture rows of cages and animals waiting to be adopted while the staff provide the necessary daily attention. But what happens here every day goes far beyond that. It's where volunteers discover they can make a real difference, where students complete service projects, where families meet a new companion, and where animals begin to trust people again. These experiences strengthen our community just as much as they improve the lives of the animals in our care. Looking to the future, it's clear that the building itself should support all of these activities, not just provide shelter. The Saugerties Animal Shelter has served both the town of Saugerties and the town of Woodstock for many years, and its staff and volunteers have accomplished remarkable things. The challenge isn't a lack of commitment or creativity, it's that the building itself was designed to have snowplows, not animals. It was an empty building that happened to be available at the time, a stopgap measure to hold strays. And now, 40 years later, it's being asked to do so much more. For anyone who's never been inside the shelter, I want to give you an idea of why it was so important for the town of Saugerties and other donors to build something that will better serve both our communities. There are 2 rooms. One houses the dog cages, the washer and dryer, and sinks for washing all the animal food dishes, the litter pans, and the dogs themselves. The other rooms for the cat cages and the people, 2 desks along the right-hand wall, 2 rows of cages, and another along the back wall with just enough room to walk between them. Bedding and supplies and bins under the cages and wherever else they can be tucked in. Doesn't leave much room for anything else. And yet so much goes on in the little open area between the desks and the cages, whose footprint is about the size of a minivan. Greeting the public, accepting pet supply donations, sometimes bulky, volunteer orientation, educational activities, and the complicated logistics of meeting prospective dog adopters in the cat room and bringing the dog from the dog room, all amidst the ongoing daily operations of caring for the animals. And then the UPS guy arrives. I hope this begins to give you a sense of the space and what they've been up against. Meanwhile, the cats are confined to quarters at all times. There's no room for any other option. And outdoor activities for the dogs, break from their cages, are leashed walks or play in a very small fenced-in area. And very much affected when the weather is bad. Rather than limiting our ambitions to fit the building, we will now have a building designed to fit our ambitions. This rendering represents much more than a replacement building. It's a facility designed around the way the shelter operates today and creates opportunities for tomorrow. This building provides spaces that better support animal care, volunteer engagement, and community involvement. It isn't just a larger building, it's a building designed around what an animal shelter needs to function well. Separate housing reduces stress for both dogs and cats, and the increased space will allow more mobility for both species and more room for volunteers to interact with them. Dedicated medical space improves disease control and animal care. And the new shelter will provide a clearinghouse for injured and orphaned wildlife, a holding space while arrangements are made for them to be transferred to the appropriate wildlife rehabilitators. The floor plan represents something much bigger than rooms. It represents opportunities that simply don't exist in the current shelter, opportunities to bring people together through their love of animals. Buildings are important, but what really changes a community is what happens inside them, and sometimes just outside them. Something included on the floor plan but not scheduled for construction at the present time is an area labeled outdoor classroom. This covered multi-use area gives the shelter something else it has never had, a dedicated place where people can learn and connect, a welcoming setting for volunteers, school groups, families, and community organizations, an accessible outdoor space for partnering with the shelter in new ways. It's a relatively small addition and not currently in the budget, but it has the potential to expand how the shelter serves everyone who relies on it, including the residents, families, and schools of Woodstock. Part of a thriving community is its responsibilities, and one of those responsibilities is towards the animals that are, after all, also part of that community. What I'm asking the town board and the community is to consider what Woodstock could do to help support the shelter. A better funded shelter will be a better run shelter, better equipped to handle unforeseen opportunities in the future. Thank you for your time this evening and for everything the town of Woodstock has done and continues to do for the animals and people in our community. I'm excited about what this new shelter could make possible and hope you will accept this as an invitation from the shelter to partner in its future. Morgan is here and happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions from the town board?
I do, but.
Is there a projected opening? Or groundbreaking?
So ground is broken,
Ground's broken.
it's being done by SIPS panels, so the SIP, actually the last of the SIPS panels were delivered yesterday. So we are waiting for, essentially like plumbing and things like that to be, like the frost walls, I believe that's what they're called, forgive me if I don't get any of that construction lingo correct. Those are up, so we're just waiting for anything that goes underneath the floor that's gonna be done, then the slab will be laid, and then once that's done, the walls can go up. So the projected finished building would be January 2027. And hopefully we would be moving in shortly after that.
Okay. So you say, so it's in progress, your slab is gonna go up, you said, okay.
Yes.
Then, okay, so I have two questions actually. One is cost, I mean, you say, what can Woodstock do to help? Are you looking for money, you're looking for volunteers, what are you hoping will help with?
All of them. We're looking for anything anybody wants to help with. Volunteers, monetary donation, anything to help.
Because I thought, I mean, people know I've been on the board for a while, and this is a little bit of deja vu to me, because I think the Stories Animal Shelter has been to the board before with a presentation about a new building. And I forget when was the last time I saw it, but
Yeah, it was several years ago now.
they've been like that. So Reggie remembers it too. Okay, so, yeah, I guess I forget what was told about how it was gonna be funded and all that. So how is, you must have a funding plan. So
Right.
what is your funding plan?
So mostly donations and grants. That's pretty much it. Donations and grants. The town of Saugerties has taken out a bond that we're paying back as we can. But fundraising is continuous. We won't be stopping that ever.
So do you like have a gap? I mean, do you know what the total cost of the building is? And you know your money that's come in, you said there's a bond. Do you know what your gap is of what you need?
So I believe we're about 50 to 60% of the way there. Originally, we began this before COVID, so of course, post-COVID costs have risen significantly. The original estimate was about 1.8 million. We're looking closer to 5 now.
And it's a.
And it's the bare bones. We had to cut a lot of stuff, unfortunately. So that's just base building, no bells and whistles or
But
anything like that.
if you say you're 56% covered, then you still need to cover about $2 million.
About, yes.
Get out your checkbook.
To Laura's point, is there a link that we might share on Facebook so that, I mean, we're blessed over there, we've got some folks who really love animals, first of all, Woodstock loves dogs and cats. Second of all, appreciate what you all are doing. And so anything we can do to help promote, get the word out, we're happy to do that. If you wanna send the supervisor's office,
Absolutely.
that will share it with the clerk's office and we'll, personally and professionally help share. This hopefully will get some attention out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we do have a website and a Facebook page.
Yeah.
So if there are things.
Yes, I think you guys have shared stuff on from our Facebook page to yours, yes.
So I frequent the place now and again.
Yes.
With some stuff and so I mean, it's amazing what you do there, really. So we want to make more of an effort because we recognize the service that you offer.
Yeah. But if you have things, because I know, I don't know if I'll put anything on the website, so if you have something that you would like to go on the website or a flyer or even a link to your website so that people can.
We have a presentation, so I'll circulate the presentation.
Yeah, okay, and that's another thing too is, right, I'd be happy to put that one on our homepage and just, so.
Yeah, and donations, like if you have a link.
Oh, yeah.
And, we can help out.
Absolutely.
These are just some off the.
Yeah, I'll be happy to forward that over.
Do you guys participate, I mean, I know that we have like the library fair coming up, I don't know how deeply you participate in like Saturdays kind of events. But would you be like more interested in doing like on the ground?
Oh, yes,
Like,
absolutely.
person to
So
person
we
stuff?
recently partnered with the Colony. We're there every other Thursday or so for the summer.
Awesome.
On occasion featuring an adoptable dog. We'll be there this Thursday with Maya, who is our current longest dog that we've had the longest. She's wonderful. She really needs a home. Her foster dad loves her very much, but she would like her own forever. So a couple of our volunteers will be there, just chatting with people, collecting donations. We'll have a board of other adoptable animals as well.
And you mentioned wild finding, connecting with wildlife rehabilitators too, that's not currently something you do, is it?
It's not. So our shelter director, she is a wildlife rehabber, Ellie Monfett. She's a wildlife rehabber on her own. So we will get the occasional turtle drop off for her. But something we noticed was a need was a lot of people don't have a meeting place for rehab, or even if they find something, but they can't hold on to it. So we are going to have a room dedicated, so if somebody finds something, they can bring it to us and we can connect it with the proper rehabber to come pick up.
That's great.
Yeah, we're very excited about that.
Any other questions?
Socrates is also, this is where you said you were applying for grants, so you have a grant writer or someone with town
Yes.
Socrates or been
Yep.
a shelter that's been looking for a bunch.
Yes. So it's been a team, we have worked with a grant writer, but it's also been a team effort of us doing little ones as we can too.
That's wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
Switching gears a little bit, we covered the sound, we've got co-liaisons, which is great. And just a quick update on Penn Church Road, the. Maybe two will sort that out on. The Penn Church Road RFQ was supposed to go out yesterday, but the town's email crashed. It was supposed to go out this morning, but our internet crashed. So it is going out, in all seriousness, so I've got to quantify the timelines. So we're very particular in when this is gonna be sent out. When questions, like we're giving folks a chance to answer questions by a certain date. From there, the town board has a very set short amount of time to respond. And then, so it's a very methodical process that we're gonna go through. And this will go out one way, shape or form tomorrow. It is going to 3 engineering firms who we found based on referrals. And one proactively reached out to us and will be the 4th. So this will go out to 4 different entities tomorrow. And I'll update the town board as soon as it's out, happily that there are no more technology problems. Okay, public be heard. And so public be heard for those folks, so each person has up to 3 minutes to speak, the town board won't engage. This is our chance to sit back and just listen to what you have to say.
Okay, so I don't know what the rules of this town to have the American flags flying in town. I don't know if it's forced into the town or what the rules do you have? Because for some people it's annoying because the 4th of July is already gone. And I don't see any reason why they have to be, kind of over our heads, that's the flag. And if you have to vote for it, who really does the, puts them there and who suggests to take them out. Because that, this has happened in the last few years. During all this year that I have been here, the only times I saw the American flag hanging in town has been during the 4th of July. And the last few years I have seen that it stays there, if they are destroyed basically. So if something can be done for that, I would appreciate. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay.
Yes.
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
No, I want to speak.
All in favor?
Can I speak?
I know.
Aye. Meeting is adjourned.
I'm not.
Sure.